Miss RG. Welcome to Clayland. We are at a very important place. It's called the wedging table. And what this is actually made out of dry plaster. And what it does is it actually absorbs the water from the clay. So right here, this clay is pretty muddy. It's not quite ready to actually use. So what is happening right now is this clay is getting an opportunity to dry up. This clay here is ready to work, so I'm going to be wedging this, and I'll be incorporating a little bit of this wet clay in here, and then I'll show you how to use this cutting wire as well. So we'll first start with the wedging. So with wedging, you're going to, a lot of you during the class time are going to be sharing the wedging table, so you don't need a big space. So you take a corner, and you might actually start with a smaller piece of clay, or you might start with a big one. You're going to do a little mini push, and then you're going to rotate. And you don't want to make a pancake, because what you're going to do is basically, if you do pancakes, you're going to introduce a lot of surface area and potentially air and air bubbles, so we don't want to do that. The purpose of wedging is to get rid of air bubbles and to make sure that the clay is ready to work with. So what you do is you do a mini push, and then you rotate the clay up on that edge. You do a mini push and you rotate. So I'll also change the position. So a mini push and a rotate and onto the edge. And you do a rotation on the edge, but sometimes you twist it a little bit, so it actually starts to make kind of like a spiral. And it's okay, you're gonna have a hard time doing this. It's gonna be very tempting to make a pancake, but you don't need to do that. You don't need to do too much force. You could use your body. You'll notice that I can lean my weight into it. So, and just try to be comfortable, be gentle. You want to be really mindful of the position of your wrists. You are going to use your arms. You don't want spaghetti arms. You want to have arms that, like if you play a sport, they're nice and soft, but they're going with the motions, and you're using your body weight to go into the clay. But you don't need to use that much body weight. So push down, rotate on the edge. And so here you'll see that it's starting to have, you can see like that's the first one, second one, third, the last one. So you'll start to see what looks like it's becoming a spiral. So you push, rotate, and just take time. This is a hard thing to do. I'll show you with a smaller piece of clay. So you can just sort of pinch it off, push, rotate. So when you get practice, even with smaller clay, you could just do it with your hand, and maybe it might be hard to rotate. So now I'm just kind of doing mini pushes, and then I rotate on the edge. So that's possible too. You could do that and then rotate it. You don't always have to rotate it, but definitely putting it on its edge is important, and doing little mini pushes down. So you could do that too, mini push, and then rotate on the edge, mini push, rotate on the edge. And you'll see that because of this rotation, I'm actually getting a lot of the clay. The clay is like really mixing. So that is a way to get out air bubbles. Okay, so the next part is that you are going to cut the clay. And here is a cutting wire. This wire is made out of like a nylon, and all you do is this, boop. You have now 2 pieces of clay. It's really useful. You don't always need to have big chunks of clay, but you can see here that there's actually no air bubbles in the surface because I wedged it well. You don't actually see that. So sometimes if you think you're like, gosh, I'm not sure if I did it well, you can even check to see if you have air bubbles in your clay. Okay.
Hey, what are air bubbles going to do if we have those in our clay?
That is a good question. So air bubbles, what they do is a couple things. One, they might pop or explode. And also too, depending on where they're at, they'll change the surface of your clay. So if I just kind of go like this and put stuff together, let's see if I can make air bubbles. And just kind of pinch things together and pretend to go, oh, okay, right, let's see what that does. Do I have some, I will get them in there at some point. There you go.
Boom.
That would be an air bubble. You really need to wedge. So I could get rid of that by putting these clays together, and then I'll just have to spend some time wedging this. And maybe actually, because I introduced air bubbles in it, maybe they might not come out. But there is a way when you have air bubbles, you can actually cut them out and you can press the air out. So there is a way to fix when you do have air bubbles. You do want to address and take care of them. So this would be a good way to, by re-wedging your clay, you can get rid of those air bubbles. So let's see if we find any air bubbles. I think.
Boom, wedge master.
Yeah, we got them out. Is that an air bubble? Oh, that was an air bubble.
Dun, dun,
It's a bebe air bubble. But that's all right. That's easy to get out of the clay. So sometimes they stay in there. That looks all right. So that's more of a surface thing.
Okay. I'm gonna